Greetings and salutations, everybody. Looks like my little quill cat here is commandeering my little background light. He seems to think it's used for a photo shoot. Anyways, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to a bit of a slightly different little entry here for this video. For this one first, I just wanted to touch on Re-Animator from 1985, which is starring Jeffrey Combs, Bruce Abbott, and Barbara Crampton. The synopsis for this film is as follows. After an odd new medical student arrives on campus, a dedicated local and his girlfriend become involved in bizarre experiments centering around the reanimation of dead tissue. So, this one is based on a story Herbert West, Re-Animator by H.P. Lovecraft, which was published first in like the early 1920s. And there were other adaptations in the 80s for other bits of his work, such as From Beyond, which also starred Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton, as well as Ken Foree, which I will put a link up to at the end of this one because I covered that about a year and a half ago, I believe. So I queued up this film recently. I picked up the Blu-ray here because it had a rough few weeks. Aside from the usual, busy times that can happen, both with good stuff and with just bad stuff or general busy stuff. I'd been sick a few weeks ago, which definitely threw things off quite a bit. And, I'd also pulled a tendon in my leg pretty bad. I've been nursing that, and then ended up messing up my back something fierce, which had me laying out with a heating pad for quite a bit. And along with getting over that sickness, I had been experiencing some really strange exhaustion issues along the same lines as what was like an apparent long COVID thing a couple years back, where for months I was just simply exhausted, resulting in sleeping 12 to 15 hours a day for weeks at a time. So I was down, and I decided to cue this one up as part of what we would call horror therapy, so to say. This one has always been some great fun to me. The entire film is just completely ludicrous. This updated take on Frankenstein in a way, the Mary Shelley story, but updated again to the mid-80s for this film. In both, the story from the early 20s and this 1980s version, it's really focusing more on the reanimation portion rather than building a person like they did in Frankenstein. So we get, with this film in the 80s, we definitely get some really zany kind of antics here, such as the character's cat being brought back to life and just wreaking havoc. Havoc more than trying to take my little light from the background there. Oh, there he is. What you looking at? All right. But yeah, and just what happens with trying to reanimate that cat, and as well as just how it was discovered that the cat had passed away and the aftermath of that. We also have issues with, different testing that they're doing kind of going awry, resulting in another death and another attempt at reanimation and what that does to the corpse. Plus the politics of the school and this creepy doctor. It just gets weird. And in some scenes, especially with Crampton and this creepy doctor, it gets especially weird. Most of which I can't really even show any clips for because it's very graphic and kind of sexually weird as well. But anyways, and that isn't even to mention, again, as far as graphic goes, the gore aspect of it. This one is also graphic as far as the gore. And but for me, in my opinion, I think it's very easy to handle because as gross as it is, the entire situation is so silly and over the top. It kind of distracts from the gore being so much gross as it kind of pulls me more into the hilarity of the situation, even though all these gross things are kind of happening as these corpses are coming to life and just going berserk. So we have comedy, we have gore, we have strange sexual themes thrown in there, and this strange tension and intensity in the Herbert West character played by Jeffrey Combs in excellent fashion. He in particular kind of made this film one that I always return to. Ever since first seeing it back in the mid to late 80s, I would say. A comfort film for some horror therapy if I just need something to sit back to and kind of unwind with. And so I've seen that phrase or heard it used a few times over the years with some like-minded horror acquaintances of mine online. This whole horror therapy idea. For some who are not really into horror, they might seem a little bit confused by this. Why not watch something happy and cheerful, like some sort of Pixar movie about the triumph of the human heart, let's say. But it's kind of hard to explain, but for me, my experience with horror therapy is that it has to do with pure escapism. How unrealistic some horror films can be, such as Re-Animator in particular. Something that really needs to kind of take me away from anything that's going on, whether it's needing to settle in after some really busy times, put a heating pad on my back, put an ice pack on my pulled tendon, sit back with my cat as my co-pilot and just kind of disconnect for a bit. Which is, also the kind of viewing where I always try to just leave my phone just face down. I don't even want to have it within reach if possible. because I don't want to have the urge to kind of like see what new projects Combs or Crampton or Abbott may be working on. I just want to focus on the movie and just escape completely, no distractions, complete disconnection. And some kind of get it for romantic films, you know, or comedies or action or sci-fi, you know, whatever genre works for them. Some way to escape, even if that way may sound strange to other people. And then another one that I queued up right afterward, which is similarly strange, but used for that same sense of escapism, is The Lords of Salem, which I also made a video for and we'll post to at the end of this, on the ending screen of this video. So, you know, I just wanted to see this one that shows some really bizarre witchcraft situations, as our lead, played by Sherry Moon Zombie, is kind of just spiraling out of control, while her friend and co-worker, played by Jeff Daniel Phillips, and her other co-worker, played by Ken Furry, who's we've kind of come full circle because he was in that From Beyond, the other Lovecraft movie that I mentioned, as they kind of like struggle to like get through to her and find out what's happening. And you know, one final kind of horror therapy mention was even this past summer, you know, I was going through some tough times in June, so I scooped up a bunch of used Blu-rays and finally settled down for a long weekend exploring all of the Insidious, Conjuring, and Annabelle films, including The Curse of La Llorona. I believe it's about 11 films in total that I watched that weekend. Not to mention how somehow even my Independence Day, which started with a double feature of Independence Day Part 1 and 2, ended with the original Halloween and the 3 recent sequels for one long binge of that story arc there. So even on the 4th of July, I ended up kind of dipping back into horror for about 6 to 8 hours there. So to wrap up, you know, Re-Animator is a great one for a lot of escapism. You know, the gore may be kind of rough if you're not really into horror that much yet. You might not have the stomach for it, but it's a lot of fun. You know, even if horror in the sense of like horror therapy may not be your thing, what is your thing when you're looking for something to escape? Do you have those comfort genres or even comfort films that you like to dip into when, or just really want to, you know, always turn to when you feel the need to disconnect for a bit? What do you check out? But yeah, anyway, speaking of checking out, thanks for checking out this little rambly video of mine about Re-Animator, primarily from 1985, starring Jeffrey Combs, Bruce Abbott, and Barbara Crampton, which at the time of this video is on Shudder, Tubi, and Plex. It might even be on a few other paid services there as well. But yeah, sound off in the comments, you know, either about this film or about one that you've kind of turned to and you need to disconnect for a bit. Anyways, thanks for coming by, and I will see you in the next one.